What practices do you have in place to lessen stress? Because I know for me, if I've got a lot weighing down on me, I'm a lot less pleasant to be around on. And I come home and I'm grumpy with my kids and I'm irritable with my husband and we misunderstand each other and it so easily escalates. But when I'm in a good place, everything goes smoothly. We talk fine, the kids get along. It's so funny how my state affects my home life so much. Today you get a brief recap on my recent event, Joyful Family Talks, where I had 10 experts discuss how to make family relationships more joyful and less stressful. Welcome to the Joyful Family Podcast, where we explore how to nurture our relationships, communicate in ways that we feel heard and seen, and create joyful family relationships that last.
We're your hosts,
Vauna
and Roland. Join us on this joyful adventure called family.
Alicia Covey, entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think that's a credit to your power as a woman, right? We've forgotten that everything does really revolve around us. So, and not in a bad way, you're the center of the home. So everybody's going to pick up on your feelings, your vibes, what your goals are. It happens unconsciously and it's an energetic in my point of view. So you can't get away from it. It just is, right? Which means that you have a lot of power to impact those people in a positive manner. So it's a big responsibility, but it has a huge reward. For me, it definitely has been a journey to find out, what is self-love to Alicia. It's very easy for me to love other people. And I quite enjoy finding out what is going to make this person feel loved. It's not frustrating to me. It's enjoyable because each person is different. So it's like, oh, cool. I'm going to find out how does this impact them? How does that impact them? But for myself, I looked at it in the beginning more as an annoyance. Why can't I just wake up and be the same every day? And it dawned on me the other day that okay, the difference between men and women, because I quite frequently would look at my husband and I'm like, he just is the same every day. He just wakes up being Charles, whereas I'm waking up am I demon Alicia today or am I angel Alicia? I never knew who I was getting, right? Because hormones. And so something that really allowed me to feel more peace about that was realizing that men have one hormone hump in their entire life. And that's it. And we do that entire hump every month. So the fact that we need more self-care or more time to disconnect and recharge should never be compared to your spouse or to the men in your life. You're just completely different. And once I accepted that, I was able to really enjoy exploring me. And instead of viewing it as oh my God, in order for you to just maintain, look at everything you have to do, it became a gift of look how many things I get to do for myself because of what I have to achieve every month, right? And so a lot of the things that I enjoy are practices that I do in the morning. I like to put myself first where everyone else is awake. No calls, no texts. A Course in Miracles has been a lovely companion to me, as well as I like to spend time praying. And that was something that I really wasn't naturally gifted at. And I actually have a book that I adore. You can tell I adore it. It's called Instant Healing. The author is Susan Shumsky. I don't really know how you say her name, but this book is one of my favorite books because if something is bothering you, you can literally look it up and find prayers about it. And it's just lovely. Those are two of my favorites.
Josh Aronovich, Empowered Leadership Coach. A lot of times as kids are leaving home, that parents often have trouble surface in their marriage. And why do you think this is?
Kids provide, I don't want to say a distraction, but a focus. Mm-hmm. And while you're raising kids, so much of your time and your energy goes toward them and their needs. So much of your mental and physical energy goes to them. And so much of your own emotional needs for connection and interaction and just connection occur with them. So when that's gone, when they leave, all of a sudden there's this space and it creates this awkwardness because even though husband and wife live under the same roof and are married and are together, the amount of time they're actually just interacting one-on-one is so much less. And all of a sudden they have all this time now with just each other and they don't know what to do with it. And it's sort of like, do you fall into the habits of 20 years ago? Or do you forge something new? Or do you realize, wait, we don't actually like each other as much as we used to? We've grown apart. Or the things that you tolerated because you only had to deal with them in small doses, now all of a sudden they're in your face all the time.
Right.
It's a time for a sort of a renegotiating and a figuring out of where you are and who you are together.
Beautifully said, because it's really an opportunity to either really get irritated with each other or to spend more time together and to get to know each other again.
Exactly.
So,
and it's time for those deep conversations about who we are and where we're going and what we want, both individually and as a couple.
It's an opportunity to court each other again, because those are the conversations we had when we were dating.
Yes.
That brought us together.
It's a time to start dating again.
That's right. And a lot of times when couples are willing to spend the time together and to go deep together, to actually have meaningful conversations, they'll find that those annoyances are really minuscule compared to the depth of the person that they're with.
Exactly. And the only reason they were annoying is because the depth was what was missed and what wasn't totally there, that they attached to these little things that they kind of annoyed them, because what was really bothering them was the lack of the deep connection.
Roland Bird, author and transformational coach.
You didn't have the best role models.
Sorry. No, I didn't.
You
Nor was I the best role model for a lot of years.
So what advice do you have to parents who didn't have good role models, but they really yearn to give their kids a better home environment than they had growing up?
Well, I mean, it's really the same. Take care of yourself, clean up yourself. I mean, so unpacking that a little bit, things like allowing yourself to be aware of patterns and behaviors that you're doing. And when you, or if you find yourself acting in a way that is hurtful or controlling or damaging in any way, ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I hoping to gain from this? What's the benefit that I want from this? And it's like the story of the lady who always cut the ends off of the roast before she put it in the pan. And her husband says, why are you doing that? Because there's like 2 extra inches on either side of the pan. And she says, I don't know. My mom always did. And her mom says, well, I don't know. Grandma always did.
And then, tells the story.
And then they call the grandma. And the grandma's like, well, because it wouldn't fit in the pan unless I cut the ends off. Just because somebody behaved a certain way in our lives as children doesn't mean there was a valid reason for us to keep behaving that way. So ask yourself, am I doing this because it's what I learned? Or am I doing this because I think it's a healthy behavior? And chances are, if it's something that's harmful or well, obviously if it's harmful or damaging, then it's going to be you're doing it because it was something you learned that you never figured out you could unlearn. You can unlearn anything that you learned. You can change who you are and how you're behaving. You just got to put in the work and have the desire and do it. So what advice would you give a couple who's wondering if there's hope for their marriage? How would they choose? I mean, I imagine it could be a situation where either the husband or the wife has doubts, or maybe they both do. How do they know if it's worth
saving,
or worth the effort?
I think what it really comes down to is, are both parties willing to do the work?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are times when you just need to get out.
Yeah.
And so I made a choice that I would not recommend for everybody. I think it's definitely dependent on the situation.
because sometimes people will say they want to change and they'll go through some motions in the beginning, but they're just like putting on a show or not really deeply invested in changing,
or they don't know how to change,
or maybe, yeah, or they, and that, so when I'm saying deeply invested, that could also be someone who wants to on the surface, but doesn't know how to, and isn't willing to go and find the resources, or doesn't even know that they could find resources.
right? And so really, if both are willing to do whatever needs to be done, to listen to one another, to communicate, communication is huge.
Mhm.
If I wasn't able to talk to you about what I was going through and have your support, that I don't think it would be possible. But because we were able to be open with each other, vulnerable with each other, and to feel supported instead of criticized,
Mhm.
then that gave us the opportunity to really make things better.
Mhm. That was very hard for me to learn how to be vulnerable.
I know, but I'm grateful for it.
Me too. And from my perspective on how do you know if there's hope, it really comes down to what's the desire for change and what's the commitment to change. Because if the commitment is there and the desire is there, then you can make it happen. You can overcome almost anything. And it really boils down to being accountable for past choices, being accountable for the state of your life, the state of your marriage, and saying, as a couple, we're going to do what it takes to make it work. Well, people can do what it takes on their own. If it isn't both parties in the relationship being willing to do everything, then it's going to be a lot harder. But as long as both people are willing, then you can overcome almost anything.
Right. And I think the biggest thing it comes down to is being willing to look at ourselves and say, what am I doing that's detrimental to this relationship, and how can I change it? And being willing to learn and to change and grow.
Yeah. What about me is contributing to this situation? What about my beliefs, behavior, mindset, energy? What is it that's contributing to this
Right.
behavior?
Get access to these full interviews at joyfamtalks.com. I will add the link to the show notes. And as always, thank you for listening. Thanks for listening to the Joyful Family Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. Follow us on Instagram at Vauna Bird Family Coach and Roland Bird Author. Learn more about our work at vaunabird.com. Stay tuned. We're looking forward to sharing more with you next week.